Before we begin our journey tonight, a brief note. This episode of Sleepy Psychology is brought to you by the SAC Center, a leading telehealth clinic specializing in the testing and treatment of autism and ADHD. The SAC Center proudly serves all 50 states, bringing expert care directly to you wherever you are. To learn more about their comprehensive services and how they can help, please visit saccenter.com. Now, as you settle in and get comfortable, allowing the worries of the day to drift away, let's begin our story. We're going to talk about a famous experiment, one that seems simple on the surface, but whose ripple effects are still felt in the world of psychology and in our own lives today. It's the story of the marshmallow experiment. Imagine a quiet room, a child sitting at a small table. On the table right in front of them is a single fluffy white marshmallow. A kind-looking researcher explains the rules in a soft voice. The child can eat the marshmallow now if they want. But, if they can wait, if they can resist the temptation and not eat it for just a little while, then when the researcher comes back they'll get 2 marshmallows. 2 treats instead of 1. The researcher then leaves the room and a clock begins to tick. This wasn't a cruel trick, but a window into the mind of a child, a test of something we all grapple with, delayed gratification. Walter Mischel was the psychologist behind this work, conducted at Stanford University in the late 1960s and early 1970s. He wasn't just interested in marshmallows, he was interested in what was going on inside that child's head, the strategies they used to wait, and what that ability might predict about their future. The children, typically around 4 or 5 years old, had all sorts of ways of dealing with the temptation. Some would cover their eyes, trying to pretend the marshmallow wasn't there. Others would sing songs to themselves, or kick their little feet under the table, finding a physical way to release their tension. There were some who simply couldn't wait and ate the marshmallow almost as soon as the door closed. But many of them, to varying degrees, tried their best to delay that immediate pleasure for a larger reward. This was more than just a cute experiment. Mischel and his colleagues followed up with these same children years later. And what they found was truly remarkable. The children who had been able to wait for the second marshmallow, the ones who demonstrated this self-control and delayed gratification, tended to have higher SAT scores later in life. They were found to be more successful in their careers and had healthier relationships. They had better coping mechanisms for stress. The simple act of waiting for a second marshmallow seemed to be a predictor of a more successful life trajectory. Now, it's important to understand this isn't a simple cause and effect. It's not that waiting for a marshmallow causes success. Rather, the ability to delay gratification is an indicator of other underlying skills, like executive function, the mental processes that help us plan, focus, remember instructions, and juggle multiple tasks successfully. These are the skills that make us good at things like problem-solving and self-regulation. The Marshmallow Experiment, or the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment as it's officially known, gave us a powerful new way of thinking about self-control. Before this, many psychologists believed that things like personality and intelligence were fixed, and that our behavior was largely dictated by them. Mischel's work suggested something else, that the ability to regulate our own desires and impulses, a skill that can be developed, might be a more powerful predictor of life outcomes than we had previously imagined. And this is where the story deepens and where it connects to our own lives. The teachings of this experiment are not just for children in a lab, they are for all of us, every day. Think about the choices you make. Do you choose the immediate satisfaction of scrolling through your phone, or do you delay that gratification to work on a project that will bring you a greater sense of accomplishment later? Do you choose the quick, easy meal, or do you delay that urge to create a healthier, more nourishing dinner for yourself? The experiment teaches us that our choices, even the small ones, are a constant practice of this same skill. It's about training our brain to understand the difference between what we want right now and what will serve our long-term goals and happiness. It's about building a muscle of self-control. And like any muscle, it gets stronger with practice. For a long time, the results of the experiment were accepted at face value, a neat and tidy story about willpower. But science is always evolving, and modern psychology has taken a closer look at the marshmallow experiment. What happens if the child doesn't trust the researcher? What if their past experiences have taught them that adults don't always keep their promises? A more recent follow-up study addressed this very question. Researchers created a new version of the experiment where some children were given a trustworthy experience. They were promised a new set of crayons and then actually given them. Another group was given a similar promise, but the adult failed to deliver. The researchers found that the children who had a reason to be distrustful were far more likely to eat the marshmallow right away. They weren't being impulsive, they were being rational. They knew from their life experience that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. This modern perspective doesn't undermine the original findings, but it enriches them. It tells us that self-control isn't just an internal quality. It's also influenced by our environment, our relationships, and our sense of security. It reminds us that our ability to plan for the future is deeply tied to our belief that the future is something we can count on. It adds a layer of empathy to the story, reminding us that we can't judge someone's self-control without understanding their circumstances. So, how does this impact you personally? As you lie there, drifting, think about this concept of delayed gratification in your own life. It's not about being hard on yourself. It's about being aware. It's about recognizing the small choices you make every day. The choice to stay up late, watching one more episode, or the choice to go to bed now, knowing that the reward is a well-rested mind and body in the morning. It's the choice to save a little money now, even when you want to spend it for a larger goal down the road. The power of the marshmallow experiment isn't just in the results. It's in the way it prompts us to look inward. It encourages us to ask ourselves, what are my marshmallows? What am I willing to wait for? What strategies can I use to help myself wait? Maybe your strategy is to distract yourself like the children in the experiment did. You could put away your phone while you're working, or plan something enjoyable for later in the day to give yourself a reward to look forward to. The marshmallow experiment also teaches us about the importance of our own self-talk. The children who waited were likely using internal monologues to convince themselves to stay strong. They were probably telling themselves things like, "It's worth it to wait," or, "The second marshmallow is going to be so good." We can use this same technique in our own lives. When faced with a temptation, we can gently remind ourselves of our goals. We can speak to ourselves with kindness and encouragement, not with judgment. The story of the marshmallow experiment, in its full context, is a gentle reminder that we have more power than we often realize. We have the power to influence our own choices, to train our own minds, and to create a future that aligns with our deepest values. The key is in that moment of choice, in that small space between impulse and action. As you continue to relax, let's explore this idea a little more deeply. The marshmallow test wasn't the only experiment to delve into the fascinating world of self-control. Psychologists have long been intrigued by our ability to resist temptation and stay focused on our goals. One of the most famous examples of this is the ego depletion theory, a concept introduced by psychologist Roy Baumeister. Imagine that your willpower, your ability to exert self-control, is like a muscle. When you use it, it gets tired. This theory suggests that we only have a limited amount of this willpower energy, and that after we've used it on one task, we have less of it available for the next one. For example, if you spend all day resisting the urge to snap at a difficult coworker, you might find it much harder to resist that slice of cake after dinner. The idea is that you've depleted your ego, or your self-control energy for the day. In one of the most well-known ego depletion experiments, participants were asked to complete a difficult, frustrating task, like solving an unsolvable puzzle. After they finished, they were then asked to do another task, one that required self-control. The researchers found that the participants who had already used their willpower on the first task performed much worse on the second task. They were more likely to give up sooner. This suggests that their self-control had been weakened, just like a tired muscle. The implications of this for our daily lives are profound. It suggests that our choices aren't just about strength of character, but also about the finite resources of our mind. It teaches us to be mindful of how we're spending our willpower budget. Maybe it's not a good idea to try to start a new diet and a new workout routine and quit smoking all in the same week. The ego depletion theory suggests we should focus our willpower on one or two important things at a time, to give ourselves the best chance of success. Another similar, though different, idea comes from the work of psychologist Angela Duckworth and her research on grit. Grit, as she defines it, is a combination of passion and perseverance. It's the ability to stick with something for a long time, even when it's difficult, and to keep working toward a goal. Duckworth's research showed that grit was often a better predictor of success than talent or IQ. She studied a wide range of people, from students at West Point to contestants in the National Spelling Bee, and consistently found that those who had more grit were more likely to succeed. While not a direct experiment on delayed gratification in the same way as the marshmallow test, Duckworth's work offers a complementary perspective. It suggests that the ability to delay gratification is a key component of grit. After all, you can't be gritty if you give up on your long-term goals for immediate, short-term pleasure. Grit is the long-term version of delayed gratification, the ability to wait not just for a few minutes but for months and years. So, as you lie here resting, think about these three ideas. The marshmallow experiment teaches us that we can train our willpower. Ego depletion reminds us that willpower is a resource we need to be mindful of. And grit teaches us that delayed gratification is a key ingredient in achieving our long-term passions. What we can learn from this fascinating history is that self-control is a skill, not a fixed trait. It's something we can cultivate, and it's deeply connected to our environment, our mindset, and our long-term vision. The story of the marshmallow and the other experiments shows us that the way we approach temptation and long-term goals can be broken down into simple, actionable steps. One of the most important takeaways is the power of distraction and mental reframing. The children who waited were the ones who found ways to make the marshmallow less tempting. They would sing, they would cover their eyes, or they would think of the marshmallow as a cloud instead of a treat. We can do this too. When we are faced with a habit we want to change, we can find a way to make it less appealing. For example, if you want to stop mindlessly scrolling on your phone, you can put your phone in another room or turn it to grayscale to make the screen less engaging. You can reframe your phone not as a source of endless entertainment, but as a distraction from what you truly want to accomplish. This leads us to the second key learning: the importance of creating a supportive environment. The modern take on the marshmallow experiment showed us that trust and stability matter. If a child believes the promise of a bigger reward, they're more likely to wait. In our own lives, this means building systems that support our goals. If you want to start a new habit of exercising in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, clean out your pantry of tempting junk food. You are building an environment that trusts and supports your new habits, making it easier to follow through. The third lesson is about managing your willpower as a finite resource. Just as the ego depletion theory suggests, we can't rely on willpower alone to get us through every challenge. We need to be strategic. The key is to make important decisions when your willpower is at its highest, typically in the morning, and to automate as many small choices as possible. For instance, if you want to start a new writing habit, commit to writing for just 15 minutes right after you wake up. You are using your freshest willpower to tackle the most important task, and you are not leaving it to a tired, depleted mind at the end of the day. Finally, we learn about the power of if-then planning. Walter Mischel himself, after the initial experiment, became a proponent of this simple strategy. It's about pre-planning your response to a temptation or a difficult situation. For example, you can create a plan like, if I feel the urge to eat a snack at night, then I will drink a glass of water instead. This simple strategy bypasses the need for moment-to-moment willpower. You've already made the decision in advance, creating a mental shortcut that makes it easier to stick to your new habit. As you continue to relax, let these ideas settle gently in your mind. The story of the marshmallow and the other experiments we've discussed isn't about being perfect. It's about being human. It's about recognizing that our minds have tendencies toward immediate pleasure, and that we can use our intelligence and creativity to guide ourselves toward a more fulfilling long-term happiness. It's about building small, simple habits that, over time, can lead to remarkable changes. Think about your breathing. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest. This is your anchor, a constant rhythm you can always come back to. When you feel a strong urge, an impulse to do something that might not serve you, you can come back to this feeling. Just like the children in the experiment use strategies to distract themselves, you can use your breath as a grounding tool. A simple, deep breath can create that tiny pause, that moment of space where you can choose. Now, as your body becomes heavy and your mind begins to quiet, let's begin a short, relaxing meditation. There's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to fix. Just allow yourself to be here in this moment. Start by noticing the parts of your body that are in contact with the surface you're lying on. Feel the gentle pressure of your head on the pillow. Feel the weight of your shoulders and your back sinking down. Notice your arms and your hands. Are they resting gently at your sides, or are they folded on your stomach? There's no right or wrong way, just notice. Now bring your attention down to your legs and your feet. Feel them resting heavy and still. Let go of any tension you might be holding in your toes, your ankles, your calves. Allow your whole body to soften, to feel completely supported. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. And as you exhale, let go of any thoughts or worries that might still be clinging to you. Breathe in peace. And breathe out tension. Inhale calm. And exhale any tightness in your body. With each breath, feel yourself sinking a little deeper into relaxation. The story has ended, the day is done, and now is a time for rest. Let your mind become like a still lake, the surface perfectly smooth. If a thought appears, just notice it like a leaf floating on the water and let it drift away. There's no need to follow it, no need to engage with it. Just let it go. Your body is growing heavier and heavier, your breath is slow and steady. You are safe. You are comfortable. You are here, and that is enough. Drifting, floating, sinking into a peaceful and restorative sleep. Let the sounds around you become a part of your dreamscape, a gentle hum that lulls you deeper into rest. Good night. This episode of Sleepy Psychology was brought to you by the SAC Center, a leading telehealth clinic dedicated to the testing and treatment of autism and ADHD. The SAC Center is committed to providing expert, compassionate care across all 50 states, bringing specialized support directly to you, wherever you are. To explore their comprehensive services and learn how they can help, please visit saccenter.com. May your dreams be serene and your rest be deep. Good night.